All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, we're live. It is Thursday, January 4th, 2018. 2018. So this is the first real broadcast of 2018. How's everybody doing? Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay. All right, testing out the audio. Okay, good. So I'm back from my trip to Atlanta and to Los Angeles. I was speaking Friday, December 29th in Atlanta at the Shrine of the Black Madonna in Atlanta for the screening and discussion of Black Friday Part 2. And then I was in Los Angeles Saturday, December 30th and December 31st and January the 1st at the Caress Unity Center in Los Angeles. Okay. All right. So this is the first real broadcast of the new year. So happy New Year to everybody. All right. So I wanted to do this broadcast here. I've been seeing some articles from the root.com, and there was a good article from Huffington Post Black Voices from January 2nd, 2018, okay, which was Tuesday. It's called Stop Using Hotep as an Insult. Stop using Hotep as an insult, right? So you see these articles from publications like the root.com, which is owned by Univision, okay? But the Root does have some good articles, but they have some articles written by some people who really seem to have a hatred for people who study African history. They're doing the bidding of white supremacy, okay? So the article from Huffington Post Black Voices, written by Dwayne Wong Omawale, is entitled Stop Using Hotep as an Insult, okay? And in the article he says, for those that don't know, Hotep, H-O-T-E-M-P, is an ancient Egyptian term that means to be at peace. It also is an offering of peace, okay? And I interviewed Dr. Roquette Amen, who's one of the top scholars on the Medu Neter, what the Greeks call the hieroglyphics, right? The ancient pictographical writings. And she speaks the Medu Neter language, okay? The writing of the gods or the writing of the deities, or etc. And she told me in one of my interviews with her that Hotep, H-O-T-E-P, is an offering of peace. But some people say to be at peace, okay? So Omawale, or Dwayne Wong, goes on to say, this is why it's distressing to me when I see people trying to use Hotep as an insult, okay? And it is to me, because these people have no clue what they're talking about. They're just showing their own ignorance and their self-hatred also. He says some of the writers at the root.com are especially at fault for helping degrade the term Hotep. These people either do not know what the term means, or they know and are deliberately trying to demean African history and culture. The term has been coming up a lot lately in regards to Dr. Umar Johnson. Umar has been in the headlines because he is currently under investigation and faces losing his psychology license, okay? Dr. Umar Johnson has also been caught up in a feud with Tariq Nasheed, the director of the Hidden Color series. Now, I'm reading from the article, okay? So let me just stop right here. This broadcast is not to attack Dr. Umar Johnson or anything like that. So if that's what you're looking for, you might as well stop watching right now, okay? But this is about people using the term Hotep incorrectly and using it as an insult, all right? So this is in the article, all right? We'll post a link of the article here. This is from Huffington Post Black Voices, once again, from January 2nd, 2018. We'll post a link of the article here on the thread of the broadcast on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. Be sure to share this broadcast on your own Facebook page and invite your friends to tune in also, okay? Share this broadcast on your own Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in as well. We also already shared it on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, where we have 1 million followers, all right? So I hope everything works out for Dr. Umar Johnson. We can have differences with, people, we can have differences with different scholars. I have some differences with certain scholars, but I never talk negatively about them in public. Okay, so I hope the best for him. Now, he goes on. Omar Wally goes on to say, Dwayne Wong, who wrote this article for Huffington Post Black Voices called "Stop Using Hotep as an Insult." He gives the example of Damon Young, who writes for theroot.com. And he said, Damon Young gave this definition of Hotep. Over the past decade or so, the working definition of Hotep has morphed into an all-encompassing term describing a person who's either a clueless parody of Afrocentricity, think Preach from Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood, okay, the parody movie that came out in the 90s that the Williams brothers did, okay, or someone who's loudly, conspicuously, and obnoxiously pro-black but anti-progress. Okay, how did the term Hotep become associated with that? That's just some more Negro nonsense. And so Omar Wally goes on to say in his article, as African people, we have been subjected to having our history and culture degraded, distorted, and destroyed for centuries now. The people who have bastardized what Hotep means are contributing to that problem. He gives this example of Michael Harriot. Now, Michael Harriot writes for theroot.com. I read a lot of articles that Michael Harriot writes. Some are good, a lot are very opinionated. Some are character assassinations of Dr. Umar Johnson. This is my opinion from having actually read his articles before I comment on them. Okay, it seems like he really has a hatred and antipathy for Dr. Umar Johnson. Okay, now he has said in his articles he has nothing against Umar, something to that effect. Well, I sure hate to see if you hated him. I sure hate to see how you would write about him if you hated him. I mean, there's one thing to you know, when Umar, July 10th, I think it was July 10th, when 2017, when Dr. Umar Johnson was interviewed by Roland Martin on News One Now. During the interview, Umar said he gave his credentials, the schools he graduated from, and he said anybody who wants to, you know, investigate that, they can, right? So Michael Harriot at theroot.com investigated. Okay, so you want to investigate it? Umar said you can. Okay. But it's the slick comments, the snide remarks he made in those articles that's problematic. Okay, so I don't know what his agenda is, if he's being paid to do this or what. Okay, but I mean, it's one thing to investigate, because he said Umar said anybody could call and investigate, research, whatever. It's another thing the way you present the information. All right. But once again, like I said, I read the articles from Damon Young. I read the articles from Michael Harriot. Michael Harriot writes some good articles for theroot.com. Some are very opinionated. Others, I mean, the articles he writes about Umar, it seems like character assassination to me. Okay, so Dwayne Young, Omar Wally, who wrote this article for Huffington Post Black Voices called "Stop Using Hotep as an Insult." He said, take Michael Harriot, for example. Harriet is a writer at The Root, and he is constantly using his platform there to criticize Umar Johnson. Here's somebody else saying the same thing. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not making this up. I actually read these articles, okay? Some of these criticisms have merit, but other times they have gone so far that Michael Harriot himself has had to apologize and admit he was wrong, okay? So this was it was an article where Michael Harriot was investigating Dr. Umar Johnson's credentials, okay? And once again, this is not a video about Dr. Umar Johnson, but he's talked about in this article that I'm sharing with you, all right? So what happened was Michael Harriot basically came to the conclusion that Dr. Umar Johnson does not have a PhD. Okay, in one of the articles. I don't remember the exact name of the article. If you go to theroot.com, and search for Umar Johnson, it'll probably come up, okay? So then, upon further research, Michael Harriot found out that Dr. Umar Johnson has a doctoral in clinical psychology, okay? A doctoral degree in clinical psychology, which is a clinical degree. it's not a PhD, which is a philosophy degree. It's a clinical degree. So he wrote an article saying that Dr. Umar Johnson is a doctor, D-O-C-T-O-R, referring to like medical or clinical, as opposed to a doctor, D-R period, which implies a PhD, which is a philosophy degree. So he did come back and correct it. In the article, he said, okay, he's man enough to admit he made a mistake. He did do that, all right? And I read that article as well. So Dwayne Young, Omawali, goes on to say, in his latest article on Umar, Michael Harriot ironically mocks Umar as being a Hotepologist. I don't know what that is, a Hotepologist. What is that? And miseducator, even though Harriot is operating as a miseducator himself by distorting what the term Hotep means. Another article mocks the fight between Umar and Tariq Nasheed as being the real husbands of Hotep. And I saw that article, the ridiculous article from theroot.com as well. In some of these articles from The Root, I don't even post on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, because they're just total nonsense. And I hope somebody African-American buys theroot.com once again so they could clean it up, like the brother from Shea Moisture just bought Essence Magazine. Hopefully they improve Essence Magazine as well, because Essence is going in the wrong direction also, okay? So he goes on to say that Hotep means to be at peace. So how does the term fit in with the discord that we have seen being displayed between Dr. Umar Johnson, Tariq Nasheed? So to those who don't know, Tariq Nasheed does the Hidden Colors documentaries. I know Tariq, right? I ain't getting involved in that. Back and forth with them, I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not. If you notice, a lot of this stuff I don't comment on. I'll leave it. Peace. You know, I know Tariq. I know Umar. I wish the best for both of those brothers. You know, I just don't like to see, you know, brothers fighting in public, things like that. I'm not getting involved in that. The article goes on to say, these are not my words, these are words here in the article. When Umar and Seti had their feud, okay, in 2016, another writer at The Root described it as a Hotep hoedown. I saw that idiotic article also, okay? Once again, all this stuff, I don't get involved in that. All right, so he goes on to say, I'm not saying that we do not have people within our communities that are exploiting the Pan-African struggle for their own personal benefit, but surely we can find better names to describe such people. Among Europeans, names like Benedict Arnold, who was a traitor, and Brutus, okay, who betrayed Julius Caesar. Et tu, Brutus, you know, betrayed Julius Caesar in the Shakespearean play, this play by Shakespeare. Benedict Arnold and Brutus are associated with a person being a traitor because those two men were traitors. In Egyptian history, or Kemetic history, because Egypt is an Arabic word of Greek derivation, we can call it Egypt. Kemet meaning land of the blacks, or Tama is one of the original terms, or Tameri meaning the beloved land. In Egyptian history, Hotep was the name of a great physician and the designer of the first pyramid, Imhotep. Okay, now the word Imhotep, I-M-H-O-T-E-P, Imhotep means he who comes in peace. Imhotep means he who comes in peace. Hotep is part of the name of Imhotep. Hotep was not his name, okay? Imhotep, I-M-H-O-T-E-P, means he who comes in peace in the ancient Middle Netter language. Now, these people writing about this, using the term Hotep inaccurately, they don't know nothing about this. They're just showing their own ignorance, okay? Now, he goes on to say, Hotep was also the name of some of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. It was part of their name, such as Amenhotep I, Amenhotep III, Amenhotep IV, who later changed his name to Akhenaten, right? The use of Hotep as an insult has been directed at Dr. Umar Johnson very frequently. But Umar himself also has no issue with using Hotep in that same negative context, according to this article. The term Hotep should be associated with its rightful origin rather than being used in a derogatory manner. The real Hoteps were great thinkers and great rulers, not the foolish, not the fools and frauds that some of us are trying to associate the term Hotep with. Okay, so once again, this article is from the Huffington Post Black Voices. Huffington Post Black Voices is from January 2nd, 2018. It's called "Stop Using Hotep as an Insult." It's by Dwayne Wong Omwali, who's a contributor to Huffington Post Black Voices, and he is the author of several books on African and African diaspora history. So unlike these idiots who are using the term Hotep as an insult, this brother actually studies African history, and he's written books on it as well. Okay, he's the author of several books on the history and experiences of African people, both on the continent and in the diaspora. You can get his books on Amazon, Amazon.com. Okay, so check out this article here. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you because a lot of I see people sometimes using that term on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, have no clue what it means, right? You're doing the bidding of white supremacy. You're doing the bidding of white supremacy. You're showing your own ignorance, okay? So, and you are attacking people who are trying to bring the light of the history of our ancestors to our people to awaken, okay? So let's go to some of your comments here. Donna R.T. Goodman said, learn to use your words, people. She's talking about Umar. Okay, now this is not a video to attack Dr. Umar Johnson. So if you want to do that, Donna, you have to do that on somebody else's post. This is not what this video is about. I don't attack any of our scholars. I don't use social media to attack any of our scholars or tear them down. That's why all this back and forth stuff, you haven't heard me in it at all. I don't get involved in that. So you have to do that on somebody else's post. I said from the beginning, that's not what this is about. Sekou Akili said, glad you're not getting involved with the bickering between Umar and Tariq Nasheed. Lila Brown said, Kemet, K-E-M-E-T. McKeffy said, Imhotep. Anthony Weston said, whenever we try to make progress, someone always starts some type of foolishness. You're right about that. Ras Makiba, Atiba X said, I see there is some confusion. Hotep is a Kiswahili greeting of peace, and then you have the state of peace, which is out of Kemet. Yeah, well, Hotep is an offering of peace also. Dr. Roquette Amen, who's one of the top authorities on the metal netter, told me that directly. Hotep is an offering of peace. So you may want to get in contact with Dr. Roquette Amen, who also teaches the metal netter, and a lot of the people across the country who teach the metal netter, she was their teacher. Let's see here. Fred G said, if a brother take him aside and advise, give good counsel to your brother. All right. Lakeem Muhammad said, it's a shame TV1 got involved. It's a shame. How did TV1 get involved? TV1 didn't get involved. How did TV1 get involved? Ozzy Osbourne, thank you, brother. Some need to hear this. All right. Be sure to share this broadcast on your own Facebook page. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can read articles that I write. We connect you to our YouTube channel. You can see my video clips. You can order my DVD lectures there. We also have documentaries like 1804, Black Friday Part 2 that I'm in. All of my DVD lectures are there. And I'll tell you in just a minute here, I'll tell you about 2 upcoming lectures I have in the Detroit area. Okay, Shaka Tillman said, Root, don't bring no BS. RT, I think she's referring to the root.com. That's counterproductive. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, okay? Because here you have a publication that is supposed to, be African-American news and opinion. And I mean, they have some good articles at the root.com. I can't take it away from them. They do have some good articles. I read the root.com every day. That's how I see some of this nonsense. Okay. And it seems like character assassination on Dr. Umar Johnson. Say what you want to about him. But when you read some of these articles, it seems like they have something personal against them. Just like Stephen A. Crockett Jr. has an article from August 15, 2017 for the root.com called Steve Bannon, Stephen K. Bannon, right? Who runs Breitbart, who's in a feud, this white supremacist who's in a feud with Donald Trump, because of the interviews he made to Michael Wolff in the new book coming out called Playing with Fire. That book comes out tomorrow. That's going to be a #1 bestseller. That's going to be a #1 bestseller. Stephen A. Crockett Jr. wrote an article August 15, 2017 called Steve Bannon, the Dr. Umar Johnson of white nationalism, may be out of the White House by the end of the week. What the hell does that have to do with Dr. Umar Johnson? So you see this theme at the root, and we need to get to the root of what's going on at the root. You know, just idiotic. So the article from Michael Harriot from July 18, 2017, where he had to come back and correct himself, is called "I Was Wrong. His name is Dr. Umar Johnson, D-O-C-T-O-R." He had to acknowledge that Dr. Umar Johnson has a doctoral of clinical psychology degree. Okay, and so you can read that. You can read that article yourself. Okay, you can just go to theroot.com and search for Umar Johnson, and it'll come up. If you look at the article from July 11, 2017. Michael Harriot, once again, this was the day after Roland Martin interviewed Umar. And I talked to Roland, called me on July 11th. We talked for 27 minutes about that interview. Roland's a friend of mine. You all follow me for years. You know I used to guest host Roland Martin's national radio show. Used to broadcast right here on Facebook. Used to guest host it a lot. We fact-checked Umar Johnson's Hotep tantrum with Roland Martin because someone had to. So if you want to fact check statements, that's fine. But how does a Hotep tantrum? See, once again, you see this pattern at theroot.com, which is owned by Hispanics. It's owned by Univision. So you can check that out. See, those idiotic articles from the Root we don't even post. Okay, so let me look at some more of your comments. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your own Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in. Okay. I keep having to adjust my glasses because these are new glasses. I just got them today, and I have to have them tightened up some. Okay, so I just got them. I just got back from Los Angeles last night, Wednesday night. I got back from Los Angeles. Like I said, I was in Atlanta Friday, December 29th, at the Shrine of Black Madonna. We did a screening of Black Friday, Part 2, a new documentary I'm in. Rick Mathis was there, who was the director of the film, and then I was in Los Angeles at the Caress Unity Center in Los Angeles Saturday and Sunday, December 30th and New Year's Eve, December 31st, doing 2 lectures. So those lectures we'll have available in the next day or so at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I dealt with, we'll come to some more of your comments here in just a minute. I dealt with, on December 30th, I was a keynote speaker at the Kwanzaa celebration, the 5th day of Kwanzaa, Nia, which means purpose. So my presentation was on what is Kwanzaa, reconnecting African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment in the era of Donald Trump. What is Kwanzaa? Reconnecting African Americans to self-empowerment, reconnecting African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment in the era of Donald Trump. And then on Sunday, New Year's Eve, December 31st, a timely message to take us into the new year. The name of that presentation was African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump. Voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump. Voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. So we'll have that available at our website. In the Detroit area, those watching in the Detroit area, and then we'll go back to some more of your comments from Craig and Black Suleiman and Lila in just a minute. Saturday, January 13th, Dr. King weekend. Saturday, January 13th at the new Nanny's Knowledge Cafe located at 71 Oakman Avenue in Detroit. I'll be doing a presentation 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Distortion of the Legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Revolutionary, will not be televised on the television. It's a free event, donations accepted. We'll have the information available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And then on Sunday, the next day, January 14th, I'll do my presentation, African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump. voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. So look out for that at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Double lecture from Michael Imhotep in Detroit. And also, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, because African American History Month is coming up in February, if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, info at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or go to our website and email me there. Okay, so Ingrid said all of this quarreling is so unnecessary. This is why you see me staying out of it. Jill Goodman said, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. Rosa Campson said, I hope that the brothers in this beef get it together because the youth are watching. That is true. Dorothy's in Chicago. It's freezing in Chicago. I had a connecting flight in Chicago, so I was in Chicago yesterday. It was freezing. Luckily, I took all my winter clothing with me coming from Los Angeles. I had my boots with me and winter coat. Charlize Brown said, who is the female in the photo behind you under Muhammad Ali? That's Aaliyah. Aaliyah's from Detroit. That's Aaliyah, the R&B singer and actress. That's Aaliyah. Okay. Carlton Harkless said, as black folks, we need to know how to uplift others and reconcile, heal so we can progress. Too much bickering, haterade going on. I wish we can get on one accord and just be great as people. Okay, understand that. Let's see, let's go back some. Black Suleiman said hello. Lila Brown said truth will always stand the test of time. She said the collective consciousness needs to be raised, starting with understanding logic. Roger Ville said, teach my brother. Aronde Brandt said, I always ask people what a Hotepper is, and they can never answer the question. Yeah, because they're idiots. They're just repeating some nonsense they heard some other idiot say, or they read some article from theroot.com and just repeating nonsense. Okay? They have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, email me at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, or email me through the website also. Okay, so my computer was freezing up, so. All right, so let's continue. Shaka Tillman said, not the root. Root means, oh, not the root. RT means right. Okay, right. Okay. I was agreeing with your statements about steering clear of tearing each other down. Much respect, brother. Okay. And, you know, this reminds me of, okay, so we posted the video that Roland Martin did yesterday. Roland talked about the beef between Dr. Cornel West and Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? And I've known about Dr. Cornel West since the early 90s, all right? So I was never really a big fan of Dr. Cornel West, and this is not a put down, I'm just telling you the truth, all right? Now, there's something, I listened to him today, there's some things he says that are true. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? There's some things he says that are true. If you notice, he really don't provide a whole lot of solutions for our people. And Dr. Cornel West does not talk about economic empowerment for our people really either. He don't talk about entrepreneurship, economic empowerment, redistributing the pain through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies, right? People protest and things like that, right? I pay attention to what he says and what he doesn't say. But I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, when Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Henry Louis Skip the Truth Gates, they call Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. One of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, calls him Dr. Henry Louis Skip the Truth Gates, because Dr. Jeffries actually knows him. Oftentimes, Dr. Gates skips over the truth. I remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, when these two brothers called Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen and Dr. John Henry Clark demagogues and pseudo-scholars. I remember that. They had the nerve to attack Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, one of our greatest scholars, one of our grandmaster scholar warriors, and Dr. John Henry Clark, who had forgotten more about African history than these two brothers ever knew combined. Because Dr. Gates' background is not in African history, it's African American literature. I read his bio. His background is not Dr. Henry Louis Gates. His background is not in African American literature, or not in African American history or African history. His background is in African American literature. That's what his PhD and his master's is in. His bachelor's is in history. Now, I know what Gates says because I read his articles that he writes for theroot.com. Gates did about a 2-year series called 100 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro. And what he did was he took the book, the small book that J.A. Rogers did, Joel Augustus Rogers. J.A. Rogers wrote a book called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro. And Dr. Gates each week would write an article about one of those facts, go through and fact check it, things like this for the accuracy, and write an article. I've read dozens upon dozens of articles that Dr. Gates writes. He does write some good articles, but some other stuff is just nonsense. So the video that Roland Martin did yesterday, and we posted here on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, you can go back and watch it, where he talked about the debate between Dr. Cornel West and Ta-Nehisi Coates. It reminded me back when Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. attacked Dr. Yosef Ben Yakin and Dr. John Henry Clark. Okay, and then in about 1993, right around 1993, Dr. Ben Chavis was I think he was either the president or executive director of the NAACP, national chapter, NAACP. So we know Dr. Ben Chavis was a longtime civil rights activist. He was part of the Wilmington 10, right? So he called this summit of African American leaders from all different backgrounds. And they probably still have the video, some of this video on YouTube. He called this summit of African American leaders from all different backgrounds. Okay, I think Minister Farrakhan was there also. I can't remember exactly. I think Minister Farrakhan was there. So he had the established civil rights leaders there. He had Reverend Jesse Jackson. He had Dr. Cornel West. He had Dr. John Henry Clark there as well. So Dr. John Henry Clark was talking like he does. And he's dealing with African history. And he's talking about Europe coming out of the Dark Ages. And he's talking about Christopher Columbus. And he talks about how Europeans colonized history, and they colonized the image of God. Okay? And he's breaking down African history, as Dr. John Henry Clark does, or did. That's what he did. He passed away in 1998, right? This is what he did. So then Dr. Cornel West comes behind him and starts talking about, I think Dr. Clark mentioned the First Council of Nicaea, 325 AD. But Dr. Clark's going deep in on the history because most of our people don't know this. So then Dr. Cornel West comes behind Dr. Clark and says that Dr. Clark went to meddling with my Jesus. What kind of Negro nonsense is this? First of all, Dr. Clark wasn't the one that meddled with your Jesus. It was white supremacy, okay? The original pictures of Yeshua, or who you call Jesus, because, okay, now, what I say may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. I should have done my disclaimer at the beginning. What I say may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard it before, don't like it, or disagree with it, does not mean it's not true. Just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about, okay? Just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about. All right, so Dr. Cornel West comes behind and says that Dr. Clark was meddling with his Jesus. No, white supremacy meddled with your quote-unquote Jesus. The letter J didn't even exist until 1630 AD. So even in the story, his mama didn't call him Jesus because the letter J didn't exist. It was Yeshua. When you look up the word Jesus in the dictionary and study the etymology of the word Jesus, it takes you back to Yeshua. So after that incident, then Dr. Cornel West had the nerve to debate Dr. John Henry Clark. It was about 1993. They had a debate at a college. I think it was Rust College. I have the debate on DVD, Pan-Africanism versus integration. You got the nerve to debate Dr. John Henry Clark, who had forgotten more about African history than Dr. Cornel West knows today? And that debate was in 93? Are you crazy? So I've known about Dr. Cornel West for a long time. I ain't tearing him down. I'm just stating facts. You know, he says some things that are, you know, good. Now, he'd only talk about economic empowerment for African people and becoming the #1 employees of our own people. He doesn't talk about that. He don't talk about redistributing the pain through targeted sustained economic withdrawal. He doesn't talk about that. Okay? And I noticed how he's not as critical of Donald Trump as he was of President Barack Obama. And there's a whole lot more to be critical about Trump about than it was about Obama. I just noticed that about Cornel West and a lot of other these black progressives that teach at predominantly white institutions. That just, you know, it's so much to be critical about Trump about. Okay? Now, there was some legitimate criticism about President Barack Obama. I was critical. But also I applauded him on certain things like curtailing the war on drugs, reducing the U.S. prison population to its lowest point in 20 years. As of December 2015, the U.S. prison population dropped to 1.53 million from a peak of 2.3 million. He gets no credit for that. 15.8 million jobs created. Unemployment rate of African Americans cut in half. The lowest uninsured rate of African Americans when it comes to being insured with health insurance in the history of this country, down to 10%, which means more African Americans in this country have health insurance than any other time in history. Which then at the same time is directly related to why African Americans right now have the longest life expectancy in the history of this country. Average age is 72 years old. Highest number of African American college graduates, highest number of African American high school graduates. There's silence when it comes to that. Those accomplishments ain't nothing to I just find that interesting. If you want to read this information, you ought to take my word for it. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Go to whitehouse.gov. What's whitehouse.gov, Michael Imhotep? Official website of the White House. What document is that? It's called Progress of the African American Community. You know, under the Obama administration, whitehouse.gov. It's still there. I showed this to people in my presentation. 99% of our people never read it. I can listen to what they say until they have never read it. Go to whitehouse.gov. It's still there. Then you can also read the report card from the Urban League of the Obama administration at the Urban League's website also. You can read that. It's detailed. They go through different categories and grade them and explain why. And they talk about accomplishments under the Obama administration that a lot of people don't talk about at all because they haven't researched it. And they talk about some failures as well. There were a lot more accomplishments than failures if you actually do the research. Now, if you go based upon opinion, you find out something else. I don't deal with opinions. I deal with facts and evidence. Okay, so thanks for the information, Rhonda Brown. So thanks for the information to look up. That's what we do here. When you have bad information, you make stupid decisions. When you have bad information, you make stupid decisions. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Mark Anthony said, we as gods will have to be united to free our minds clear or mind of we as gods will have to be united to free or to be free, to free our minds clear or mind of Europeans thinking. Okay. We have to free our minds of Europeans thinking. I think that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say, Greg Arnold said, teach brother Ashe Hotep. Gregory E. Hook said if he talk about that, he will have no job. Okay. He's talking about, I think, was he at Harvard? He's at Princeton now, or Harvard Princeton. Eddie Glaude was another one of them. Eddie Glaude was on national TV telling African Americans don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, Eddie Glaude, you got Donald Trump. Now I see you on MSNBC talking about Trump, but you ain't going after Trump like you went after President Obama. After you told African Americans don't vote for Hillary Clinton, Now you got Trump, who redeclared the war on drugs under Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, his Attorney General, May 12, 2017. Reversed President Obama's initiative on not renewing the contracts of privatized prisons for federal prisoners. He reversed that. You got Jeff Sessions, who's going to announce that they're going to reverse President Obama's initiative on not enforcing federal law on states that have voted to have medical marijuana and legalized marijuana for recreational usage. He's reversing all that. And you one of the ones who sat up here on national TV, on MSNBC, on radio shows that I heard you on, Eddie Glaude. You one of the main ones that told African Americans don't vote for Hillary Clinton. After Donald Trump basically said he didn't have a criminal justice reform program. Hillary Clinton had one. She had a criminal justice reform program. Trump didn't have a criminal justice reform program. And Trump also said that police needed more authority. They didn't have enough authority. Trump was against the Black Lives Matter movement. He was against holding police officers accountable. I got the video from news1.com. I got the video where Mike Pence was on the campaign trail, who was Governor Pence at the time, who's now vice president. Mike Pence is on the campaign trail, and he said he and Donald Trump thought there was too much talk about implicit bias in policing. He said, we need to stop talking about that. Well, wait a second. How are you going to address the issue of implicit bias in policing when you don't even want to acknowledge that it's a problem? You had a lot of these African-American professors who teach at white institutions who don't talk about economic empowerment for African Americans. Notice this. They don't talk about economic empowerment. They don't talk about entrepreneurship, right? And they told our people, don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Now you got Donald Trump. Now they're not criticizing Trump as harshly as they criticize President Obama. So see, I got a real problem with people like this, especially when they're not providing any solutions for our people. Because you listen to them, they ain't providing no solutions, really. They're not dealing with economic empowerment. They're not dealing with redistributing the pain through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies. They're not promoting African history for our people to take our minds back from white supremacy. And African history and culture gives you your foundation, your values, your interests, and your principles. It influences your economic empowerment and political empowerment. They're not dealing with any of that. Now, the reason why they're not dealing with any of that is because they can't stay relevant and keep selling their books and keep getting honorariums to speak at colleges, right? If people are focused on economic empowerment, because their message is not about that. So to keep people dependent upon them and for them to stay relevant, they have to shift the conversation and deal with some other nonsense that's not empowering our people. Because if you listen to them, they're not really providing any solutions. If you listen to them, they're not really talking about having a platform of issues that pertain to our community and pushing that agenda from a local, a state, and national level. I listen to them on. They have on MSNBC, Eddie Glaude, and things like this. I'm still waiting for him to apologize. I'm still waiting for Eddie Glaude to apologize for telling African Americans not to vote for Hillary Clinton, because she's the only one that had a chance of stopping Donald Trump. This is how you get. I mean, the Russian hacking had a lot to do with it, but hell, I warned you about the Russian hacking during the election. I told you what was going on. October 7th, 2016, the Obama administration came out and they talked about the Russian involvement in it. I read the CrowdStrike report last year, July, August. CrowdStrike was the first cybersecurity company that the DNC, Democratic National Committee, that they brought in to figure out what happened. I read the CrowdStrike report and the Fidelis report. I talked about that last year. That ain't nothing new. I told you Russia was behind this stuff. I told you Russia was behind this stuff before the election that took place November 8, 2016, because I read the reports. So this stuff coming out now, I was talking about Deutsche Bank last year before the election. You're going to find out Deutsche Bank was probably putting pressure on Trump, and that's why he fired Preet Bharara, who was the U.S. Attorney to Manhattan. Because one of the things, because Deutsche Bank already got fined about $630 million for laundering $10 billion of money from Russia. And Preet Bharara, who was the U.S. Attorney to Manhattan, who Trump, November 30th, 2016, had a meeting with him at Trump Tower, asked him to stay on as U.S. Attorney, then all of a sudden fires him. Well, one of the things Preet Bharara was investigating was Deutsche Bank. And he was investigating Deutsche Bank to determine if they violated crimes in the state of New York, because Trump Tower was in Preet Bharara's district. So all of a sudden, Preet Bharara gets fired by Donald Trump. I wonder why. So all these people are going to prison. These are some of the most wicked, evil, crooked people I've ever seen. And they're so stupid, they ain't even trying to hide what they're doing. They're just so stupid with it. So all of them going to prison. Okay. Let's go back to some of your comments here. Rosa Campson said, laughing out loud, please post a debate. I need a laugh. It's on YouTube. I think we have some of that debate with Dr. It wasn't much of a debate either. Cornel West. You trying to debate Dr. John Henrik Clark, man? What's wrong with you? You know. But the video from it's probably on YouTube. The video from the NAACP, you have to see that also. Okay, it was the NAACP summit from I think it was 1993. And Dr. Ben Chavis, you know, wanted to do something really good. So I think it was in 93. This is one in 90. It was a leadership summit. Trying to see if we could find it. Well, I have to post it later. There was one in 97 where Farrakhan spoke. But I don't think this was it. I don't think this was it. I think it was the one in 93. That year is sticking out to me. So I'll try to find it. And if you all find it, inbox me here on the African History Network on Facebook. Okay, inbox me here on the African History Network on Facebook. So Gregory E. Hook said if he talk about that, he will have no job. Okay, I think we got that comment already. Let's look at some more of your comments. Crystal Rice said that was a good one. Delinda Willis Thomas said Dr. Clark taught truth or fact. He did not give his personal opinion. He taught projecting our ancestors' voice. Dr. Clark was no joke, no sellout, strictly African and made no apologies. Okay. He is my mentor, and I spend my time teaching, learning, and running the race to spread African thinking or mindset, African history, education, economics, self-esteem, building, community, spirituality instead of religion, racism. Okay. Community, comma, spirituality instead of religion. And let's see. And share this broadcast on your own Facebook page, everybody. Invite your friends to tune in also. Share this broadcast on your own Facebook page. Let's go to some more of your comments. If you like this type of information, hey, my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can order my DVD lectures there. I have about 35 of my lectures on DVD, all different topics dealing with our history. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for DVDs by myself, Michael Imhotep. All right. The Donahue Show, 80s, check that. Okay. Now, what on the Donahue Show? Because Donahue had a lot of shows in the 80s, man. Now, I remember Dr. Francis Cress Wilson on Phil Donahue. A lot of people today don't even know who Phil Donahue is. I remember Dr. Khalid Muhammad on Donahue. DeBay Moore said the power of a goon. Okay, one of the Orisha. Let's see. Bernice Gatson said they're not going to prison. They're rich and they're white. Well, Bernice, study history. 48 people around Richard Nixon went to prison. Richard Nixon got a pardon from Gerald Ford. Richard Nixon resigned from office August 9th, 1974. He was the first sitting president to ever resign from office. All the people in the White House ain't rich. Richard Nixon got a pardon, but 48 people around Nixon went to prison. Now, somebody who's white who did go to prison was Martha Stewart. She went on other charges, inside trading. I think it was inside trading. She was a billionaire. She went to prison. Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart has the show with Snoop Dogg. Martha Stewart went to prison. She was rich and white and blonde and a woman. So just because they're rich and white does not mean they don't go to prison. As Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff's in prison right now. He was rich and white. Donna Dorman said we have a presidency full of thieves and liars. You're right about that. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, is one of them. That's why on our Facebook fan page, when they daily, the White House press secretary conference, right, the daily briefing, we post that here because they're dealing with policy. You can see how these liars operate. This is why when it comes time to vote them out of office, you can't sit at home. Midterm elections are coming up November 6, 2018. These are the most important midterm elections ever. Seriously. Because over 100 policies that President Obama had in place have been reversed under Trump. So the House and the Senate have to be flipped because they're passing policies that are detrimental to African Americans. Mark Shields Anthony said the Creator made us think for ourselves. We can and will change our circumstances because we need Africa and Africa needs us. Jared Lennox said, hasn't marijuana use always been illegal under federal law regardless of it being legalized under state law? Yes, it has been illegal, but under President Obama, what the Obama administration did was, and the articles about this, is one article from MSNBC.com, it was from NBCnews.com today. All the news outlets had articles about this, thehill.com, etc. What the Obama administration did was, unless it was something like racketeering, unless it was illegal sales of marijuana, if it was a state that passed a law to have medical marijuana or to legalize recreational usage of marijuana, such as California. That just went into effect January 1st. I was in California when New Year's Day when it went into effect, right? Now, I've never used marijuana, never consumed marijuana, don't have any intentions of doing that, don't have a need to, right? But it's legal in recreational usage in California as well as Colorado. So if we look at the article from NBCnews.com from today, January 4th, 2018, sessions to end legal marijuana policy from Obama era, okay? Attorney General Jeff Sessions gave U.S. attorneys the green light Thursday to aggressively enforce federal laws against marijuana, even in states where marijuana is legal. In doing so, Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III reversed an Obama administration policy that shielded legalized marijuana from federal intervention and enabled the marijuana industry to flourish. Now, Jeff Sessions has never been for medical marijuana or legalized marijuana of any sort. He's an old idiot, okay? He's never been for that, all right? When Trump ran he was asked a question. They just showed it on MSNBC. If you go to msnbc.com, you could probably see the clip. And they have the clip at nbcnews.com also. He was asked a question about medical marijuana and what was his stance on legalizing marijuana. Trump said it should be left up to the states. That's what he said. It should be left up to the states. This is the same Donald Trump, right, who in the first about 345 days of his presidency has made 1,950 false or misleading statements. This is the same kind, man, the same Trump. Okay? So in doing so, Jeff Sessions reversed an Obama administration policy that shielded legalized marijuana from federal intervention and enabled the pot industry to flourish. Okay? The previous issuance of guidance undermines the rule of law, and so Jeff Sessions said, the previous issuance of guidance undermines the rule of law and the ability of our local, state, tribal, and federal law enforcement partners to carry out this mission, Sessions wrote in a 3-paragraph memo. Okay, now when you actually study who gets arrested for marijuana, African Americans and white Americans, European Americans, basically use marijuana. They have the same usage rate. But African Americans nationwide are almost 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession. How was that? Now, this is just after Jeff Sessions, May 12, 2017, redeclared the war on drugs, which was winding down under the Obama administration. But if you don't study politics, if you don't read these articles from thehill.com and Washington Post and New York Times and news1.com and Atlanta Black Star, if you don't study this stuff, you sit up here and repeat this nonsense that you hear other people saying, because they're not looking at these changes being made in the law and this progress being made. And these policies were on the 2016 ballot. These policies were on the ballot, and people didn't realize that, and they're being reversed right now. They're being systematically reversed. Sessions wrote that he is simply directing all U.S. attorneys to use previously established prosecutorial principles that provide them all the necessary tools to disrupt criminal organizations, tackle the growing drug crisis, and thwart violent crime across our country, end quote. Right. Violent crime is almost at historic lows in this country. They keep lying about the violent crime in this country. Yeah, you have an uptick in Chicago and some other states, but nationwide, violent crimes and murders are almost at 40-year lows. Federal law prohibits growing, buying, and using marijuana. But while Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III gave permission to prosecute marijuana cases, okay, a Justice Department official stressed that he did not explicitly call for that. Nor did Sessions say federal prosecutors should now go after the industry. Okay, but what he's doing is leaving the judgment up to the federal prosecutors, which is reversing an Obama-era policy. Now, the weed smokers didn't know that this was going to happen, and they let Trump become president. If the weed smokers knew that this was at stake, oh, they would have come out and voted against Donald Trump. On MSNBC, leading up to the election, they were covering, I think it was Colorado, but they were covering states that had, they were covering states and cities that had on the ballot legalizing marijuana, whether it's medicinal purposes or recreational purposes. And Jason Soboroff, who's a reporter for MSNBC, Jason Soboroff interviewed millennials who said they were going to vote to make marijuana legal, but they weren't going to vote for president. You know how stupid you have to be to do that? I'm not kidding. Let me see if I can find the video. I have thousands of video clips from MSNBC archive. Okay. So they actually said that they were not going to vote for president, but they were going to vote to make marijuana legal. How important, here it is right here. How important is the marijuana vote? 5 states, including Nevada, will vote on whether marijuana should be legalized for recreational use. MSNBC's Jacob Soboroff reports if marijuana voters will help Hillary Clinton in the swing state of Nevada. Okay, yeah, it was in Nevada. It was 5 states, including Nevada. Okay, let's see if we can play this clip. This is from September 30th, 2016. This clip is 3 minutes and 49 seconds long. It's called How Important is the Marijuana Vote? I told you, I have thousands of video clips from MSNBC archived. Okay, I use a system to archive all this type of information. That's how I can find it just like that. All right, so I just posted the clip right there. Let's see if we can play this so you all can hear it. I don't have this running through my my mixer board, but let's see if we can play it so you all can hear it. And I need to monitor it. We got to get past a commercial. So let's get back. I want you to hear how stupid this sounds. They probably were high when they did this interview. Okay? So a lot of the weed smokers didn't see this coming. I saw it coming. A lot of weed smokers didn't see this coming. So once again, share this broadcast on your own Facebook page and invite your friends to tune in. Sound is good. So let's see if we can get this going. Okay. Let's try it.
Right now, Nevada could be larger than normal turnout of young voters.
Should be able to hear it. Okay, you can't hear the audio. Audio isn't good. Okay, I'm not running through my mixer board, so that's why. But we'll post a link again here. We'll post a link so you can check it out. Okay. Sorry about that. Maybe on my show Sunday night we'll play it. Okay, let's see something here. Let's post a link here. Post it on the thread of the broadcast. All right, it's right there. And let's see. Once again, it's called. You can go to msnbc.com and search for how important is the marijuana vote. How important is the marijuana vote? And we posted the link there. And we'll post it on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, also. We'll when this broadcast is over with, we'll post it in the thread of the broadcast as well, and we'll post it on our Facebook fan page, also the African History Network. Okay, I'll post that after this broadcast is over with. Okay, have you seen Clinton Chronicles on YouTube? No, is that some conspiracy theory stuff? Clinton Chronicles sounds like some conspiracy theory nonsense. Elisa said, like the background view, you see Malcolm X. See, I have my Malcolm X glasses on. I just got these my new glasses. Still trying to get used to them, so I need to get them. They're a little loose. I have to get them tightened up tomorrow. Got this from Heritage Optical in Detroit, African American owned optical center. Heritage Optical, 3 locations, 1 near you. Okay, in Detroit, Heritage Optical. They're on Jefferson at Shane in the shopping plaza. They're down in downtown Detroit also. Roz says, check your messages. Okay. Cannot hear. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's Ali knocking out. That's Ali knocking out Sonny Liston. That's Ali knocking out Sonny Liston. That's Ali training also. And then we have Malcolm X. Then we have Aaliyah. All of these people are ancestors now. Interesting. Okay, so look, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Share this broadcast with your on your Facebook pages with your friends. We'll put this on our YouTube channel also. We'll put this in audio podcast format on Blog Talk Radio and iTunes, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show, blogtalkradio.com/The African History Network Show. Once again, it's so just so we're very, very clear, because I don't want people to be confused, right? Because somebody posted before you push people to the Clinton, blah, 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 all this stuff. I read policies. I told people during the election, okay? I told people go to Donald Trump's website, donaldjtrump.com. I said, read his 13 policies. I said, go to hillaryclinton.com, read her 36 policies. I said, then you match up. Now, most people didn't do this. Most people didn't do this. I can listen to what they say and I can tell. And most people who talk about these videos, things like this, when did you go fact check that information in the videos? I'll wait. I use 8 different fact checking sources. I fact check Clinton Cash. Who wrote Clinton Cash? The conspiracy theory filled book. Who wrote that? Peter Schweitzer. Who was Peter Schweitzer? A senior editor at large for Breitbart. Who put out the documentary Clinton Cash? Who put that out? Did you know Stephen K. Bannon was a co-producer at Clinton Cash, who was the chief strategist for Donald John Trump, who runs Breitbart, who he said was the home of the alt-right, the platform of the alt-right, who's in a bitter feud right now with Donald Trump? Who finances Breitbart? Robert Mercer and his daughter Rebecca Mercer, 2 white supremacist billionaires. Who's Robert Mercer? One of the early and main financiers of Donald Trump's campaign. So most of the people talking this stuff don't even know who these people are. Rebecca Mercer's in the news today because Rebecca Mercer, read the article from the Washington Post. Rebecca Mercer is talking about, I think she's either talking about or has withdrawn economic support from Breitbart, and now the board at Breitbart is talking about ousting Stephen K. Bannon. And that's behind, a lot of that has to do with, part of it, Rebecca Mercer withdrew support, one, because largely because of Bannon's support of Roy Moore in the special election for U.S. Senator in Alabama. Okay, and the board of Breitbart is looking at ousting Bannon behind these comments that Bannon made in the new book by Michael Wolff called "Playing with Fire," which is setting the Trump administration on fire. Because these were interviews that Michael Wolff did, and he was given unfettered access to the White House. And he's doing interviews, he's recording people, he's doing all these interviews. And Bannon says some very, very damaging, disparaging things about Trump. Now, they were true. He talked about, he thinks Trump is going to go down for money laundering. Oh, you got these 2 white supremacists fighting each other. Okay? So, this stuff is ridiculous. Then I'm sitting back watching it. This stuff is ridiculous. Read the articles from the Washington Post. I think I bookmarked one of them. Let's see here. Which one is it? We got Bannon. Read the article from thehill.com. I posted it on my personal page. I don't know if I posted it here. Bannon and Flynn I posted it here. This is one article. Lieu, the Representative Ted Lieu, who's a former prosecutor, Lieu. Bannon and Flynn turning on Trump is reminiscent of Nixon era. Bannon and Flynn turning on Trump is reminiscent of Nixon era. Nixon's downfall was accelerated when insiders started to turn on him. Bannon was an insider. Because when you study Richard Nixon was pressured to resign from office. He was pressured by other Republicans. The Republicans told him, look, it's over. You got to resign. Articles of impeachment were already drawn up against Richard Nixon. First article of impeachment was obstruction of justice. Second article of impeachment was abuse of power. Who was in control of the Congress? Democrats. What was Nixon? A Republican. He was going to go down. So to avoid all that, to avoid being put on trial, right? Because articles of impeachment are drawn up in the U.S. House of Representatives based upon Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, dealing with treason, bribery, and high crimes and misdemeanors. That's Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. Article 1 and Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution spell out the impeachment process and how it works. The trial is held in, so after it passes the House, the impeachment, then the trial is held in the U.S. Senate. And the U.S. senators are the jurors, and the judge that presides over the trial is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So December 19th, 1998, when Bill Clinton was impeached, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was William Rehnquist, who was the judge in the trial in the U.S. Senate. This is why you have to read the Constitution. Read Article 1 and Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. Okay, you can go to loc.gov, and you can read the U.S. Constitution. I carry a copy of the Constitution with me, right? But you can go to loc.gov and read it there. Okay, that's Library of Congress's website. Okay, let me see this here. We got this article from, we have it here from Washington Post. Let me post this one here for you. This is dealing with, because see, when I was in Los Angeles in my presentation, African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences, I talked about similarities between circumstances in this country that led to Richard Nixon becoming president and led to Donald Trump becoming president. I talked about similarities, and I talked about Nixon's downfall and similarities between the downfall of Trump as well. History is repeating itself. So, okay, so we just posted that article from thehill.com. So check that out. Oh, this is an article here from, here we go, New York Times. New York Times and Washington Post. I read both of them each day. New York Times and Washington Post both have articles about this. You need to read this. Led by the Mercers, Bannon's allies abandoned him. Led by the Mercers, okay, Bannon's allies abandoned him. In the New Yorker had a huge article on Robert Mercer some months ago. Read that one also. Because this guy's against civil rights. He's for voter suppression. This is a big white supremacist. This is why he's friends with Donald Trump. Robert Mercer. Most people don't even know who this guy is. This guy was the main financier of Donald Trump's presidential campaign. After Trump said he's a billionaire, he's going to finance his own campaign. He doesn't need other people's monies. He doesn't want to be beholden to other people. What Trump didn't tell you, we saw his reversal on privatized prisons. What Trump didn't tell you is that Core Civic, which used to be called Corrections Corporation of America, which is the largest owner-operator of privatized prisons in the country, and Geo Group, which used to be called Wackenhut, the second largest owner-operator of privatized prisons in the country, they donated almost $600,000 to Donald Trump's campaign, his presidential campaign. After this fool stood up here and talked about he's worth $10 billion in his financial disclosure form to the SEC, okay, his or FEC, Federal Elections Committee, FEC, not Security Exchange Commission, but the FEC. He said he's worth $10 billion, all this, right? Okay, and he said he's going to finance his own campaign and all this. Okay, he ain't talking about Robert Mercer during the campaign, who's financing his campaign. He ain't talking about Sheldon Adelson, another billionaire who's financing his campaign. He ain't talking about the money he got from the private prisons. He ain't talk about that either. I wonder why. I just find it very interesting. After you say you're going to finance your own campaign and all this stuff. Okay, so check out that article from New York Times that we just posted here on the thread. That's from today. That article is called Led by the Mercers, Bannon's Allies Abandon Him. Stephen K. Bannon. You got these white supremacists fighting one another, going crazy. Let's look at this article quickly, and we're going to get out of here. This is from January 4th, 2018. Enthusiasm for Stephen K. Bannon's plans for a fiery Republican revolution had already been fading among some of the donors and candidates he was relying on to upend the party's establishment. Now, he's a multimillionaire. He gets royalties from the Seinfeld TV show, right? He used to work at Goldman Sachs. He's a millionaire, but he's not a billionaire. Robert Mercer is a billionaire. He don't have that type of money, okay? But Stephen K. Bannon's provocative remarks about President Trump and his family, reported in a new book now scheduled to be released this week. This book is coming out on Friday, January the 5th. And Mr. Trump's angry response further alienated some of Mr. Bannon's most important backers, including the family of the hedge fund magnate Robert Mercer, leaving Stephen K. Bannon confronting the possibility of a dire fate for a publicity-hungry provocateur, political irrelevance. Political irrelevance. The Mercers were blunt on Thursday in cutting the cord, reiterating support for Donald Trump while disavowing Stephen K. Bannon's remarks and disowning his political endeavors. Rebecca Mercer is Robert Mercer's daughter. She said, quote, "My family and I have not communicated with Steve Bannon in many months and have provided no financial support to his political agenda, nor do we support his recent actions and statements. I have a minority interest in Breitbart News, and I remain committed in my support for them." Now, they have a minority ownership in Breitbart, but they help finance Breitbart News, which attacks African Americans on a daily basis. So what does that say about Robert Mercer and his daughter? Okay, they finance you. So you gotta follow the money with this stuff. They finance Breitbart. The reference to Breitbart seemed an implicit threat. Also, as Roland Martin exposed on News One Now, they also finance Black Republican Raynard Jackson. His Black Americans for a Better Future or something like that. He heavily funded. About a third of their funding comes from Robert Mercer also. Roland exposed Raynard Jackson, who it was when he was on News One Now with Roland Martin. Raynard always talked about how voter suppression doesn't exist. He always sounded crazy. He said Stephen K. Bannon is not a white supremacist. Always just crazy. You knew he was being paid by somebody to sit up there and just humiliate himself like that. The reference to Breitbart seemed an implicit threat. Stephen Bannon is chairman of Breitbart, and many staff members there believe there is a strong chance he might lose the job. Though he was dismissive of that possibility on the site's daily editorial conference call on Thursday night, according to one person with knowledge of the call. So you can read the rest of this article here. But these people are going crazy, fighting one another. This book is explosive. And the book hasn't even come out yet. They just released excerpts of the book. Now, at MSNBC, they have an advanced copy. Rachel Maddow had a copy of it tonight. You're going to hear about this. I'm telling you, some people probably be fired behind this. Okay? Also in the book, it talks about how Trump allegedly would plot to sleep with the wives of some of his friends. And he would have one of his friends in his office, alleged friend in his office, And he asked his friend, is sex still good? Is sex good with your wife? And she still do this and all this stuff, right? You could do better and blah, blah, blah. And allegedly, he would have the guy's wife on the phone, on speakerphone, hearing the husband's response. This is allegedly, according to this book by Michael Wolff, Playing with Fire, that he did extensive interviews with people about. This is how Trump plotted to sleep with the wives of his friends. This is the same guy who got 5 deferments so he didn't have to go fight in Vietnam. And he said that avoiding getting STDs during the 1970s was his Vietnam. This is the same guy who said that. All right, so we got to get out of here. First broadcast of the year. I think it went pretty well. Okay, I think it went pretty well. And I have one of these. I have about 15,000 articles podcasted here. I mean, not podcasted, archived. So we got one of these articles here, Trump. You can read this stuff yourself. You see, I'm not making this up. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up, okay? This stuff is so crazy. She said, Loretta said, what a pervert. You're absolutely correct. And he wanted to talk about President Obama and discredit President Obama and say President Obama wasn't fit to be president. In 2016, Donald Trump questioned President Obama's mental fitness to be president, all this stuff, right? We still haven't seen Trump's transcripts from college. He didn't think an African-American man could get high grades at Harvard University. He demanded to see President Obama's college transcripts. We haven't seen Trump's college transcripts. He hasn't even volunteered them. Okay, I was trying to see if we could bring up that article. Let's see if we can see if I can try to bring it up quickly here. Hotep means peace. Hotep is an offering of peace. Charlize said, thanks for the insight, brother. Obama at least speaks in complete sentences. Speaks in complete sentences, is very intelligent, and he understands the U.S. Constitution. I don't think Trump has ever read the U.S. Constitution. He definitely doesn't understand it. Okay, let's see here. All right. Bring it up. I'm not sure if I have. I think I have it. Okay. It's not working. All right, but anyway, you can Google that. It'll come up. See Sunshine said, I am certain that he does not read anything substantial. He lacks the attention span to read anything substantial. This is part of the problem. He has a very, very short attention span. Some people think that Trump has early stages of dementia. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. As Joanne Reed talked about today on Reverend Al Sharpton's radio show, Keeping It Real, Joanne Reed, who's on MSNBC, she talked about how Donald Trump's father had Alzheimer's, I think it was, and died basically from Alzheimer's. So he may have a history of mental illness in his family. I would not be surprised. All right, we got to get out of here. Hey, remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. You can order all of my DVD lectures at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We got the 1804 documentary dealing with the hidden history of the Haitian Revolution from Tariq Nasheed and producer Hidden Colors. We've got my presentation African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. We got the racist history of the white national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. I deal with the whole history of the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, tied out in the Colin Kaepernick's protest. A lot more. We have bundle packs available at our website also. It's all available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct your own behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you have been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know, okay? And 1804 is a documentary. It's not a book. Somebody said they have to read that book. It's a documentary. It's available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. 1804, The Hidden History of Haiti. All right. Talk to you next time. Peace.